Yeah, so um yeah. Hey guys. I'm David. Um I'm one of the programmers here holding the sleeve. And this video is basically just gonna bring you guys a quick update. Because we released 0.09 finally after many months. A lot of restarts and starts again and then restarting again. Um but yeah, we kind of just wanted to bring this video just to give you a quick update on the state of the game, our kind of plans, where we are going forward, and things like that. I'm joined by the Le Grand Fromage, Dado. I'll let you introduce yourself
Yeah.
for those that
I'm,
don't know
I'm
you
a big
already.
cheese.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a big cheese.
For those
Yes.
new here and don't know you, Dado, do you want to give yourself a little rundown?
Yeah. So apart from being a big piece of cheese, so basically, I'm in charge of the project and I've been working in the game industry for a long time. And last couple of years, quit everything and decided to make these things. And along the journey, of course, we found Storer, we found David, we found all the amazing people that joined our small team, and here we are, like 1.5 years later. I think this version, which we call 009, which I think we should call it in a more cool way, like I don't know,
Yeah,
introducing day or something like that. But we never go into that. But this version that we got available now, I think is the first real version of how the game is gonna feel. Not so much as the game is gonna look. I think the look could change a little bit, but especially Josh Clough. The other one is orange and is horrible. Julie wasn't very happy with the orange cloth that I put on. But yeah, this is like the version that we have. I really believe is our um, basically introduction to the gaming industry. And yes, and there were a lot of changes introduced from 008 and 009. 009 is the latest version, I could say. Um, and we're gonna basically talk a bit about everything, not just about the changes, but what is the current status of the project and what we want to do going forward, and yeah, all those things, and also addressing some of the most common asked question on our Discord chat and on YouTube or Instagram, uh, because there are quite a few key points that people keep asking about, and it's worth to have a reference about what is the answer for those key questions that people keep asking. Apart from the fact that when the game is going to come out, that we don't know yet at all. Apart from that one, um, yeah, we can go through um, all of the most important features that we can think of. Yeah, and I think we could start with your stuff because you know it better than anybody else. Uh, the new thing is the clamping system, and which I think it works very well, and and I think it's fair to say that the clamping system, it was just an accident that it was just even put in there, because at the beginning we said, I think we were talking with Drew, and in this said, can we have climb ups, and I think he really meant like the single animation of a climb ups, right, the parkour animation of climb ups, and then basically that simple thing generated a very cool clamping system. So now we have this very cool clamping system. And yeah, I think like let's start talking a little bit about that.
climate.
Yeah.
So yeah, so one of the newer things to this version, I guess, is we decided to, well, so you were saying that it was a happy accident, I guess. The It was almost me misunderstanding what you actually wanted to have in the game,
Yeah.
and then just going off on a wild tangent and making this thing that wasn't even what was intended. Because I think, so we were saying before, like, So Drew, initially when we were discussing, like, okay, let's try and take the game and add this sense of verticality to it, in the sense that we can finally move up and down. Like we had this beautiful National Theatre model that was created by one of our artists, Nathan.
Nathan,
Shout out
yeah.
to him. I'll put his Instagram tag as like a little edit.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, really beautiful building, looked really good, but you couldn't actually get up it. Like you had to
Yeah.
teleport. We had to have this fake teleport gate. It was just awful.
And the stairs didn't even work. You couldn't even go up the
Yeah,
stairs.
it only worked in the time trial in the tutorial. So yeah, you had to have this like fake teleport gate just to actually get up there. So it was completely like you had this amazing building, but you couldn't use it at all. So it was like, what was the real point of it? Like it was just going to waste basically. Um, so one of the things we were like, okay, well, all the versions leading up to this, people always like, I want to climb up, I want to do climb ups, I want to climb up, I want to climb this, I want to climb that. And we were like, okay, well, in this version, as Drew mentioned, let's do a climb up. Let's be able to climb up. And I don't know why, but I just took it as let's climb. I was like, oh, let's add climbing. Let's go for it. Like, we'll do climbing, we'll do run ups, we'll do hopping between it, and then we'll do the climb up. Because in my head, he's like, let's add climb ups. Oh, so you just want a climbing system? I'll make that. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll happily do that. It seems interesting. It seems difficult, but I want to learn and get better. So yeah, I'll take lead on that. So I started doing it, and then it's only I think after the first two meetings, he's like, wait, you can like move on the wall? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, like I just meant like just climb up. I was like, oh. But I had already started. It was working, so we just went with it. Um, and so basically, my initial vision for the climbing system was I did a lot of research. I looked into a couple different climbing system in games, games that also include parkour elements like Assassin's Creed, Uncharted, Tomb Raider, Watch Dogs, how they climb, how these systems operate. Um, and there was a couple of things I came up with. A lot of them, they benefit from the lack of realism of the game itself, which allows them to make systems that sort of break that barrier a bit. So you can jump further, hop higher, and you know what I mean, like climb in ways that most humans wouldn't actually be able to climb. Um, so this is one thing that was a limitation with us. Like with our system, really you should be defined by what a human can do. Obviously within an extent, because as we always talk about, what's fun in real life may not necessarily be the most fun in a game. Because you know, like if I told you, oh, like a human can jump 8 meters, and you in real life you're like, that's unbelievable. In a game though, 8 meters doesn't seem that far, because in the scale of the world, and when you zoom out, you're so far away, and you know. So yeah, so the aim, like looking at these systems and comparing it to them, was like I wanted to first of all make it look good, make it feel fun, make it look visually interesting, make it look realistic, have really good movements, really good IK, so like placing the hands on the surfaces and things like that these games have. The second thing I took away was these climbing systems were totally deterministic. So one of the things that they had was they would like if you moved, you held a button and moved. Basically, it was like a locomotion but on a wall. And what your actions and the moves you did were completely determined by where you were moving and like the direction of movement you did, rather than like what you wanted to do. Like you can pick the kind of jump you did. You can pick whether or not you jump up. Like if you held the parkour ball move button in a direction, you would hop up. It wasn't any kind of like you decide non-deterministic kind of way in which like actions aren't defined for you. So that was something I think in this game where, because movement is everything, we've really tried to hammer in the idea that our actions aren't like non-deterministic, and you have to make decisions, and that opens up elements of like skill gaps and things like that. But that's a whole different thing. Now, so going through this dev process, you it's really easy in like looking back on things to say, I wish we should have collected this, we should have done this mocap, we should have done that mocap. Oh, that is in the that is in the beach now. We should have done that mocap. But a lot of the time you only realize these things in, like I said, in hindsight. And a lot of game dev, I'm learning especially, it's a really iterative process. Like you'll do something and you'll only know if it's good or not after you've done it, you've tried it. So yeah, so we'd record a lot of animations, and this is the thing. Like parkour is a very intensive like activity that can only be done. Like a lot of these moves can't just be done by anybody. Um, like it's not easy to perform dinos on walls, like hopping big spaces. And with the small team we have at the moment, there was always going to be a coverage issue. So the aim, like in an ideal scenario, in if you had have 100 degree, 100 range, 100 like maximum radius coverage for all different types of movements. If you want to move left, right, up, down on different types of obstacles, you have every single coverage you could possibly think of for every angle, for every speed, and in that scenario, your animation system would be absolutely flawless because we would pick the animation to play depending on the context. But in this situation, we don't have that. And so what we had at the moment, I had one climb up that was like really good. We had a couple different ones, but they were of similar heights. So I said, okay, well, for this first system, let's accept that there is going to be some visual discrepancies and visual flaws. And they said, let's just get the base logic of how we want to perform things down. Um, and then the actual animations, the IK, the syncing that we can improve iteratively as we go along and get more coverage. And so I think we achieved that really in terms of how we want the climbing system to sort of feel and function. We want you to be able to move on ledges, move on surfaces, want you to be able to hop between surfaces, want you to be able to climb up, drop off. We're going to have, as we get more coverage of recordings, being able to drop down into ledges and things like that. But the main idea for this system for me, I guess, really was just to build a foundation from which we could then expand from. So yeah, like a lot, if not everything, will change with the climbing. But it was really, I think it was important to get it in for this version in order to kind of see the vision for it and to get a feel for what it could be if done right. So yeah, that's it.
The locomotion system from 008 to 009 is completely different. It's literally night and day. I mean, it's like, yeah, there is nothing similar to 008 and 009. And and you can really feel it, right? Like, I mean, I thought that you can really feel it. I've asked Charles if she felt different. I've asked you. I've asked Gans. I've asked everyone that played internally and say, yeah, it feels, a lot better than 008. I thought, all right, okay. I mean, but because I've asked them, does it feel different? I mean, maybe maybe say, oh, he asked me this, so I just like biased, right? Them to say, yeah, sure, it feels different. Right? And I thought, okay, right. I achieved my goal. I know that there is an ongoing process. Like everything that includes animations in the game, which locomotion includes, is gonna be an ongoing process until the end of the game and even after the end of the game, right? So it's never gonna be finished as such. So, but this was an important step. Well, we released 009, and the first comment that I say is like, oh yeah, the input lag, the locomotion is exactly the same. Nothing has changed. I like that our friends on Discord just assume that like that was the truth. It's like I don't know how they have the actual knowledge to say, oh yeah, sure, it's the same. But yeah, I love the fact that yeah, pretty much everyone said, yeah, sure, there is no difference. It just moves exactly the same, and that was the first big shock because it's literally none of the same. And then the second big shock was so basically I redid this whole thing because the responsiveness wasn't good enough, right? So the responsiveness was very slow. So basically, the time since you input your command to the time that the character does the things that you input, that is called the response time or the lag, or I don't know if there are other names, but so that element is a crucial. That measure is a very very crucial measure in the video game industry, especially if you are on a top end esports game that you need to get like to the last 9 seconds the accuracy in order to win $1 million. Like you need like those games need to be created like specifically with that element in mind. It needs to be like the responsiveness needs to be deterministic and and super mega accurate. Our game is not like that, and it's never gonna be like that, because our gaming is about moving fluidly into uh, moving the human body fluidly into a beautiful environment, like a beautiful architectural world. And but the same definition, like it cannot be like the response time can never be zero or can never be like optimal, because for example, if you're just running and you are like your feet they are like off the ground and you press the jump button, no, your body doesn't immediately jump off thin air. Just your feet needs to retouch the ground, and then like your pelvis needs to compress for the jump, and then you can jump. Okay, so we need to allocate some time for, okay, you press the jump, but your body needs to wait not too much but a little bit in order to position himself in order to make that jump or to make that turn, or to stop, right? Like when you're running and you stop, it just don't just stop immediately on the spot. It just you just slow down, and just like after a couple of meters, you just stop in real life, right? Of course, in the video game, it must be shorter, but there needs to be that element, that delay, if you want to go for like simulating the human body. So I, I tried to reduce that delay as much as I could, and the delay was reduced massively from 0.8 to 0.09. And the second shock was that people say, oh yeah, the delay is a bit worse for 0.08. And I said, no, like it's a million times better. How can so that goes to show that like the unbiased not opinions, but the unbiased reaction of people that they know nothing about the game is a crucial element that any game development studio should take into account. Because, and this is why we're having the demo that is played by, I think now we got about 2,000 backers, right, for the game that help us with the development. So those 2,000, of course, not each one of those 2,000 people are playing the game, but we got like these core people in our Discord channel that is very useful. They're extremely useful because they have, I am biased, like I'm not, like they don't have any prior knowledge. They don't know anything about what I spent my last 24 hours fixing a bug of the code in the specific Locomotion stuff. They know nothing about the inner working of the system. So they have the real true reaction feelings that that we need to consider.